There are so many unanswered questions right now in Uvalde, Texas. For parents of the children who were killed, one in particular is sparking their anger. We look live here at the scene of 19 crosses for children, 2 more for the teachers, 21 all told, each with a name of the victims of this week's mass shooting. The parents of the children want to know why it took police so long to take decisive action. Almost an hour, we now know. A raw and disturbing video captures that agonizing, bewildering, infuriating wait for parents outside the school. The recording by Hugo Cervantes shows some of what happened there. Frantic parents urging police to storm the school. For some, their fear turns to fury, and at one point, you can see officers moving to detain one of the parents. Magda Gabriselassie is part of our CBC News team in Uvalde, Texas. And Magda, let's pick up on that video and the questions that we now have. Authorities held a news conference providing more details about the police response and the timeline, but there's really been a changing version of events and facts. So what do we know this morning in terms of how this all played out this week?
Well, Heather, really, the police are really facing some heat right now, based on the fact of, how long it took them to actually get into the school, and because they released information earlier this week that we now know is not true. So starting from the beginning, earlier this week, we heard that there was an armed police officer or armed school officer here at the school who engaged with the shooter as he was trying to get into the school. Now we know that, in fact, is not true. What we heard yesterday from police is that the shooter was able to walk into the school uninterrupted, that he was able to get into the school through a door that was open. And in fact, it took police about an hour to actually make their way into the school to try to put a stop to this attack and to take down the shooter. And that, of course, is something that has parents confused and angry in this community. And we saw that in that video because there were parents here that day soon after the shooter was in that school. They were out here begging, essentially, the police to go in and to put a stop to this. The officers that they saw on the outside, they were asking them to go in. And in fact, many of these parents were trying to go into the school themselves. And that is what we heard from Jacqueline Cazares' father, who spoke with our Susan Ormston. Take a listen.
While I was there, we heard the gunshots. It was like 5 guys, dads that were there, and they kept telling us to come back, like for our safety, like y'all need to do your job. You guys need to rush in. They said they rushed in and all that. We didn't see that. God knows how long my little girl or the rest were like that.
And now, of course, he and so many others are planning funerals. And in the meantime, there are calls right now for this to be investigated, to have the FBI come in and take a look at how police responded to this situation. Heather.
You raise such a good point, Magda. This was supposed to be the first day of summer holiday, and instead for these families, they are planning the funerals for 19 children. And we know as well, Magda, 2 teachers. Eva Morales was one, the other a woman named Irma Garcia. And we're learning this morning of a double tragedy for her family. What has happened?
Yeah, Heather, just when you think things couldn't get any worse for this family, it has. So as you said, Irma Garcia was one of the teachers that was killed in this shooting, and she left behind a husband and 4 children. And what we're learning now is those 4 children have now been orphaned. So the family is now reporting that John Martinez, Irma's husband, was actually here at the school yesterday laying flowers at the memorial here, and that when he got home, he collapsed, and in the end, he apparently died of a heart attack, according to family. And now you have these 4 children between the ages of 12 and 23 who are now going to have to bury both their parents who died within a matter of days of each other.
Already there were no words, but as you say, even more tragedy. Magda, thank you very much for bringing us the very latest on all of that. Uvalde, Texas, our CBC News team there.